Hey there, welcome back to Move with Joe. Today's lesson is all about giving you more functionality, more range and ease in your upper thoracic spine, shoulders, head and neck. So for those of you that have been struggling with working long days at home, maybe at a laptop, and not in an ideal postural situation, this lesson is going to give you the organization, the expansion, the lengthening out of some of these areas that get tight as we sit in more isolated movements throughout the day. Please hit the like and subscribe button. That way you can stay updated with all the new content that I'm producing for you. And as we go, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment box below. I'll be sure to try and get you an answer. All right, so let's begin today's lesson. All right, so today's lesson, we're going to start on our stomachs. Head resting on the floor, turn to the right. Your right arm is going to be bent at a 90-degree bend at the elbow with the fingers facing above the head. And the left arm will be also bent at a 90-degree angle, but with the fingers facing down towards the toes. Now, if this is difficult, you could place a small pillow underneath you or a blanket right at the chest level. Or you could, if it's not possible to get yourself to 90 degrees comfortably, you can back off the angle a little bit. But if it's comfortable, you can start out 90-degree angles at the elbow. And you're just going to slowly begin to slide the hand a little up and a little down. Both hands, so the left hand begins to slide down, the right hand begins to slide up. And as you make the movement initially, just begin to notice how it is that you organize to make your movement. Good. Let that rest for a moment. And now with both arms simultaneously, just as a reference point here, begin to lift both arms off the floor so that the whole arm lifts at the same time. And then lower. And you can just get a sense of the ease of this movement or the difficulty of it. For some of you, you may not even be able to lift the arms off the floor. But we'll just use this as a little reference point. All right, so begin to slide the elbows and the hands a little up, a little down. The right hand is sliding up overhead. The left hand is sliding down towards your feet. And so you notice where it is that you begin to initiate this movement. And for a moment, begin to slow the movement down. So for some of you, you might be moving quite quickly. And to start, let's slow the movement down and just notice the very first initiation. What do you begin to use in order to initiate this first movement of sliding? Where does the movement start from? Which leg gets longer as you slide the right hand up and the left down? And as you slide the right down and the left up, which leg gets longer? As you slide the right hand up, which pelvis do you begin to weight? How is it you can begin to use your rib cage to help with this movement? Good. Go ahead and just roll onto your back for a moment. Let yourself rest. You can begin by just rolling your head a little to the right, to the left. And then you can return onto your stomach. Bring your hands back into that same position, both elbows at 90 degrees. The arms directly out to the sides of your shoulders. And this time, as you begin to slide, Just notice if you were to begin to bend one knee, which knee would help you lengthen and begin to slide farther up? So which knee would begin to help allow the right arm to just move a little bit more smoothly, more easily? How would you begin to organize through your hips? Bringing the arms back into that 90-90 position each time. Good. Go ahead and let that rest. And this time, begin to lift your elbows. So you can begin to lift them at the same time. See if you can coordinate so that they lift and lower at the very same moment. Good, let that rest. And then begin to lift your right hand off the floor. Now for some of you, this might be quite hard. And sorry, not just the hand, but you're actually rotating from the shoulder. So you start to create this external rotation that lifts the whole forearm. And then see if you can do the same thing on the back with the left hand. In this case, you'd be rotating it into internal rotation. Now for me, this is a much more difficult movement, but it may be easier for those of you that have more internal rotation. And then for the moment, press both the right arm and left arm down into the ground a few times. So you press and then you let it go. And you can notice, how do you coordinate your breath as you make this movement of pressing and releasing? Good. Now begin to lift the right elbow, and as the right elbow comes down, begin to lift the left elbow. So you begin to lift one and then the other, and you can notice what type of movement happens across the torso, across the chest. And if you don't feel any movement, what might you start doing in order to organize to make this movement a little easier? You may notice that there's a slight shifting across your cheek. All right, good. Let that rest. You can roll over onto your side or onto your back for a moment. Give your neck a rest. You can gently roll your head side to side. Okay, come on back onto your stomach. Hands in the same position, elbows at 90 degrees, arms directly out, to the upper arm out directly from the shoulder joint. And this time, again, begin to lengthen the right arm up overhead. Left arm comes down. And you can see how you begin to organize maybe a little bit more through the whole of your body. Notice if anything begins to change in terms of how you find support through your rib cage. And then as you begin to slide the arm up. Begin to slide the right arm up and begin to bring the palm up towards the ceiling. So this movement is called supination when you begin to turn the palm up. And you can remember that like you're carrying a bowl of soup. So it's supination. So you begin to create this spiraling external rotation up through the arm, through the right arm, and then bringing it back down. So each time coming back to that 90-90 position. And the left arm can continue to slide down towards your feet. And then at some point, you'll begin to notice that you could begin to start to slide the right hand underneath the face as if to go to the left shoulder. And of course, at some point, you'll need to pick up your head in order to do that. But just see how far you can go within a comfortable, easy range, starting out at the 90-90 position. Slowly beginning to lengthen. You can let your right knee come up a bit. And at some point, you begin to lift the head and slide the palm up towards the left shoulder. And for those of you that have tight shoulders, tight neck, tight upper thoracic spine, like yours truly, you might find this to be a difficult movement. So just be gentle, smooth with yourself. Some of you might find that it's easier to just try and slide directly across with the palm down, but really want to start to introduce this spiraling movement. As you straighten the right arm, you spiral it up, and then you can begin to bend the elbow and slide it down towards your left shoulder and back. All right, so give that a rest. And now with your left hand, begin to slide the left hand down and then start to slide it as if to start to go underneath your pelvis, the opposite side to the right hip. And you'll begin to notice that at some point you need to lift, but see if you can lift in a way that you only lift the minimal amount necessary and that you lift at the appropriate time. So some of you may start by quickly just popping up your pelvis, but how can you coordinate the movement so that it's just this perfect opening? So it's just starting to open right as the hand comes. And you could notice which way does your pelvis go initially. For some of you might notice that the left side lifts first. You open up to the left. Maybe for some of you, you open up to the right and you slide under. Just see what comes natural each time coming back to the original starting position. And you could explore which side works better for you. All right. So now go ahead and take the left arm and bring it into a push-up position so that it's somewhere near your chest out on the left side of you. You don't want it too far away. You could imagine that if you had to press yourself up, where would you want your hand and elbow to be? And then from here, you can begin to slide the right arm up a little bit. And as you slide it up, you're going into supination, sliding it back down. So you begin to slide it up, supinating. And as you begin to slide it up, you can start to take it over towards the left shoulder and then back, sliding up towards the left shoulder and back. And so you might notice that there's a moment where you want to begin to turn your head to the left, and you can do that. And then bring it back. So you're just noticing this cascade of movement, how you begin to find the support through your pelvis. Notice which leg becomes longer as you make this movement. Notice which knee you want to begin to lift as you bring your right hand to the left armpit. All right, so give that a rest. You can bring your arms back to that original 90 position, right hand up towards overhead, the left finger's pointing down. And this time, begin to lift the right arm off the floor, noticing where it is that you find support to make the movement to lift the right arm off. What presses down in order for the arm to come up? Where do you find the support from your rib cage? And then go ahead and lift the left arm up. And notice where it is that you begin to find support to lift this side. And then begin to lift both at the same time. And then lift the right arm, and as you bring the right arm down, the left arm comes up. So the left arm comes down, the right arm comes up. And then once again, lift both arms and just notice the ease, maybe the lightness of the movement now. You can once again just slide your arms up and down. Notice the quality of the movement of the arms, the ribs, pelvis, this huge cascade of movement, the legs, how things begin to organize and unfold now. And you can just think back to how you started that movement and how much more of you is involved in this lengthening out of yourself. Very good. Let's take a moment to just roll onto your side. You can then roll onto your back. On your back, you can notice what has changed in terms of the quality of the movement of rolling your head. And then when you're ready, go ahead and come on up to standing. All right, now that you're up at standing, just notice a sense of ground support, the skeletal support coming from the ground up and through you. And just begin to gently rotate to the right and to the left, and just notice what your sense of availability of ease with that movement is now. And you can notice how quickly you may have gone back to just moving in a more isolated movement. So maybe for some of you, you just started rotating from the neck. And so what would it be like to start to involve more of the movement coming from your hips, for example? How does that movement transfer up and through your spine so you have this big upward rotation up and through the center of yourself? And you could even begin to invite lifting one of your heels. So as you turn to the left, lift the right heel. As you turn to the right, lift the left heel. So we're getting movement all the way up and through the whole of ourself. Now, in standing here, you may also notice a very big difference in terms of the organization of your shoulders. You may notice that there's a sense of more support, more openness, more stability. You may notice that there's a sense of being more upright through your spine, maybe a sense of being a little bit more tall or open in the world. All these things have to do with this historical way of us starting to round forward, gravity having the effect of pulling us forward and kind of compressing our spine, compressing our body to the point where we don't have that availability to make some of those movements. I really hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I really look forward to seeing you next time. Till then, stay tuned.